Have you ever met someone in the most unexpected place? Yes, someone who changes everything you thought you knew about life, love, and yourself? Well, this is one of those stories. A rich city girl, full of pride and luxury, crosses paths with a humble farmer on a dusty country road. She thought she was just stopping to help fix an old tractor, but what she didn't realize was that the man she met that day owned far more than broken machinery. He owned the very land her wealthy family had once dismissed as worthless, and what began as a simple act of kindness would turn into a lesson about humility, love, and discovering what truly matters in life. Sophie was born into wealth, the daughter of a powerful business tycoon in the city. Her world was skyscrapers, designer clothes, glittering parties, and luxury cars. She had never known what it meant to struggle, and for the longest time, she believed success could only be measured by money and status. But beneath her polished exterior was a young woman growing restless, tired of shallow conversations, meaningless dates, and a life where everything seemed to be about appearances. One summer afternoon, after an argument with her father about responsibility and independence, Sophie impulsively decided to drive out of the city. She wanted space to think, away from the noise and flashing lights. She never expected her car to break down on a lonely rural road where the nearest sign of life was an old farmhouse and fields that stretched endlessly into the horizon. That's when she saw him, Ethan, a rugged farmer in worn jeans, grease on his hands, and a calmness in his eyes that seemed so different from anyone she had ever known. He was struggling to start up his old tractor, sweat dripping down his brow under the blazing sun. Something in Sophie stirred at her, perhaps curiosity, perhaps an unfamiliar sense of empathy. Without thinking, she walked toward him. "Need a hand?" she asked with a hesitant smile, though she had no idea how to fix a machine like that. Ethan chuckled, shaking his head, but there was warmth in his voice when he replied, "You don't look like the tractor-fixing type." Sophie could have walked away then, insulted by his remark, but instead, she stayed. She held tools as he worked, asked questions, and even got her hands dirty. For the first time in years, she laughed genuinely, laughs that weren't forced at some gala or staged for a camera. As the sun dipped lower, Ethan finally got the tractor running again, and together they stood watching the golden fields sway in the evening breeze. Sophie couldn't remember the last time she felt so alive. Over the next few days, Sophie found excuses to return. Sometimes she offered to help on the farm, though her clumsiness often made Ethan laugh. Sometimes she simply wanted to listen to the quiet wisdom he carried, his thoughts about the land, the seasons, and the simple joys of life. But as their bond grew, Sophie also felt the weight of a secret. She knew her father's company had been trying to buy out farmland in this region for development projects. If Ethan found out who she really was, would he feel betrayed? The tension built when Sophie's father discovered where she had been spending her time. Furious, he warned her that people like Ethan were beneath her, that she was wasting her life on a farmer with nothing. But Sophie's heart told her otherwise. She had seen more strength, integrity, and dignity in Ethan's simple life than in all the boardrooms of the city. Still, she couldn't shake the fear of losing him if he knew the truth. The moment of truth came one evening when Ethan finally asked, "Sophie, why does someone like you keep coming here? Who are you really?" With trembling lips, she confessed everything: her background, her father's company, the projects threatening his community. She braced herself for anger, rejection, maybe even hatred. But Ethan simply stared at her for a long time before replying quietly, "Sophie, I don't judge you for where you come from. What matters is where you choose to go." What Sophie didn't know was that Ethan wasn't just a struggling farmer. He owned acres of land, more than anyone else in the valley. He had inherited it from generations before him, refusing to sell no matter how high the offers came. The land wasn't just property, it was his identity, his heritage, and his promise to his family. Sophie had thought he was poor and powerless, but in truth, Ethan was one of the most respected men in the region, a silent guardian of the land her own family had tried to control. This revelation changed everything. Sophie saw that wealth wasn't about skyscrapers or cars, but about roots, community, and the values one held close. With time, her father came to see it too, realizing his daughter's happiness mattered more than his empire. Though it wasn't easy, Sophie stood up to him, proving that love built on respect was worth more than any business deal. In the end, Sophie and Ethan chose a path together, not one of glittering city lights, but of golden sunsets over the fields. Their story became a testament that sometimes life leads you to the people you never expected, in places you never planned to be, and sometimes those people show you the kind of wealth money could never buy. So, to you watching right now, remember this: love doesn't always arrive in the form we imagine. Sometimes it comes when you roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, and help someone fix an old tractor. Because what you're fixing may not just be broken machinery, it might just be your heart.